What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today I'm going to talk about the coaching hirings that happened over the coaching period where everybody was hiring coaches. And I'm going to actually do them in the manner that I feel is best to worst. Because I think that there's a lot of things that's going on that's behind the scenes that I think that most people really don't understand. And I'm going to give you my reasons for why I list them to the best and to the worst. So right now I got 8. Currently right now as I'm taping this show, they have not hired a coach for the Arizona Cardinals and they haven't hired a coach with the Las Vegas Raiders. So right now I'm going to go with the first 8. So the top 8 for me, or the top 1, the best coaching hiring for me is Todd Monken for the Browns. A lot of y'all are going to, a lot of Browns fans, maybe a lot of fans, period, are going to be like, well, wow, how could you determine that as number 1? Well, the reason I determine that as number 1 is because for the first time in Browns history, they've sat up there and put their foot down and said they're no longer going to let coaches run things. Todd Monken makes all the sense in the world, because Todd Monken was also a part of that coaching staff that was trying to draft Shador. Remember Shador, it was the Ravens and the Eagles that wanted to draft Shador. And Shador was the one who didn't want to go to those places. And now all of a sudden here's Todd Monken, who sees Shador as the quarterback. And for that is an intelligent hire. That is probably the smartest hire, and that is a hire that I think is going to pay off big time. It's going to pay off with dividends immediately, because now for the first time Shador won't feel sabotaged. He won't feel like there's someone trying to just show him up. Now, there will be stuff that needs to be done. One, they got to find a way to trade Dylan Gabriel, and they got to get Jerry Jeudy out of there. I feel that Todd Monken will turn everything around. Todd Monken has a long history of having success with quarterbacks no matter what their skill level is. So with that, I really love the Todd Monken hiring by the Browns. And again, I just feel that this solidifies a lot of stuff, because this shows the fan base that, look, we're no longer going to just get the prettiest thing and then this guy gets to come in and have all the power and everything like that. This solidifies the possibility of bringing a culture change, because when you think about the years of the Browns, they've always had this culture of losing, which is why the fan base is okay with being losers and trying to draft another quarterback in a draft where quarterbacks are down this year. That to me, I find that incredibly crazy. But again, like I said, the Todd Monken hiring, I think that's the best hiring so far of the coaching hirings. Next is John Harbaugh to the Giants. This was very smart. This falls in line to where the Mars had hired Tom Coughlin years ago. You bring in a guy who brings in culture and brings in a way to steady a ship. And John Harbaugh does that. He does a fantastic job with actually showing guys what they're going to do. And he's going to try his best to keep Jackson Dart out of harm's way, unlike Brian Daboll did. And with that, you're talking about a guy who specializes in not only having a solid special teams, but he does try his best to hire quality people. And normally when John Harbaugh goes out there and finds people, he tends to find some of the best people he can find. So with that, he's got a very he's now entering the NFC East, which is not an easy division to come into. But I do feel he will come with some skill, some acumen, and some understanding on how to really rebuild these Giants. And it's going to be tough for teams like my Commanders and the Eagles, and also the the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. So it's just one of those things where, you know, John Harbaugh brings a lot of culture, a lot of responsibility, and he brings a lot of toughness to a Giants team that has been missing it for years, and I think that that's the second best hire. Third is Robert Saleh to the Titans. Now, I will say this. The Robert Saleh hiring is genius because he's known for defense. Not only that, he has a guy there, if they keep him, and the corner there, I can't think of his name. I don't know why I'm forgetting people's name right now. But he has a cornerback there that is actually a very solid corner. And he knows how to operate defenses. You're talking about going from the 49ers with a solid defense to the Jets with a solid defense, being fired by the Jets, watching his defense collapse with the Jets, then bringing on the 49ers and doing so well with the 49ers. All we're going to see is him do the exact same thing with the Titans. That defense is going to play well. He clearly runs a system that is very defensive friendly because you never see a gap in. You never see them struggling to learn the system year one. And when Robert Saleh brings that, you can tell that the Titans are going to be big. Now, the thing about it is that now he's going to actually be facing his compadre in D'Amico Ryans in that AFC South more often, and that's going to be something. Now, the thing that he did, that Robert Saleh did, that I don't know, I like his thinking when he did it, but I'm not certain if it was the smartest thing to do, and that's he hired Brian Daboll as the offensive coordinator. And the reason why I say that is because the thinking was there. You find a coach or an offensive coordinator that's used to dealing with or has an offense that knows how to utilize guys who have the ability to throw and pass. The problem is Daboll gets his guys injured often. And that's his problem. That's Brian Daboll's biggest problem, is that he doesn't keep the quarterback out of harm's way. And we saw with the Giants, Jackson Dart was injured a lot. We saw Russell Wilson go down to injury. We saw him run plays that almost got Jameis Winston injured. So his offense, even though the thinking is there and the thinking was smart, and it was an intelligent thought pattern when he hired him, the problem is that Brian Daboll is one of those guys that he got his quarterbacks injured with the Giants, and I concern myself with the fact that he could mess around and get Cam Ward injured, and that would be a devastating thing to the Titans, because Cam Ward is actually not a bad quarterback. He was just he was in the wrong system. And this system will benefit him. The problem is that can Daboll keep him out of harm's way? Next, number 4 is John Sullivan and Jeff Hafley of the Dolphins. I felt that was a very smart move because it brings culture. The Dolphins have been a struggling franchise for a long time, and the culture there has been one of everybody doesn't seem quite happy there. Tua is an example of this. Tua is someone who I remember everybody was blaming Mike McDaniel for the offense and stuff like that, and it's like, no, it's not the coaching, it's Tua. Tua is just an awful quarterback at this point. He doesn't make sound decisions. He may only read half the field, and he ends up in a situation where he's just playing horribly. So this is going to be a situation where we're going to actually see the type of culture that John Sullivan and Jeff Hafley bring into the Miami franchise, because they definitely need it. And both of them come from the Green Bay Packers. So this is one of those situations where I can definitely see the culture shift happen. And in the process of the culture shift happening, there may be a lot of guys who will not be there. We're talking about guys like Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill may not be there. If they could find a way to trade Tua more than likely will not be there. This also means that we could possibly see the end of Devin Achane as a Dolphin, because Devin Achane can't stay healthy. And when you can't stay healthy, that creates a bigger problem down the line. Especially when you're trying to make the playoffs, or you have your offense surrounding this particular player. But I do feel that John Sullivan, who's going to be the general manager, by the way, and Jeff Hafley, that was a good bring-in, because that brings culture. Next, number 5 is Jesse Minter to the Ravens. This is one that I talked about before. When the Ravens fired John Harbaugh, the thing about it was that they have to bring somebody in who understands that Ravens culture, that Ravens history, and that long tenured thing that deals with the Ravens. Because understand, it wasn't just the coach that got fired; it was also I think the general manager got fired too for the Ravens. So that was a big change for this franchise. But they brought in Jesse Minter, who was there back, I think, 2017, 2018, because I remember he was given credit for the development of Marlon Humphrey. I think it was Marlon Humphrey was the one. But he was a very good defensive backs coach. And then he went to he was just the defensive coordinator. Oh my God, why am I missing everything? But either way, Jesse Minter was a really good pick. Now, I thought they would have went more with. I thought they were going to go. Oh, he was Jesse Minter was with the Chargers, but I thought that they would have went with Anthony Weaver or even Brian Flores as the head coaches, because again, you're talking about two guys who are not only former Ravens coaches, but also like guys that a lot of players that's currently on the team really respect. And for Jesse Minter, this will be huge for him, because he already knows the Ravens culture. He knows what needs to be done. He knows what needs to happen. But the thing is, can he transition into being the head guy and show that he can actually keep players around, motivate players, and see if he can get that secondary back intact and back together, because that secondary kind of struggled last year. So we'll definitely see that. But I think he was a smart hire. Again, I just thought that they were going to go with Anthony Weaver or Brian Flores, but Jesse Minter wasn't a bad hire at all. Now I'm going to go into some of the ones that I didn't think were really good. Number 6 is Joe Brady of the Bills. Keeping it together. I feel that Joe Brady didn't do a good job calling the plays. I think that his offense is very predictable, which is why teams were able to beat the Bills as they went down the stretch. And I saw his offense sit up there and rely so much on Josh Allen to basically be the quarterback running back, and it really did hurt him down the line. I mean, I think that he actually ravaged Josh Allen more than he should have in this season that happened, because we were talking about Josh Allen having these games in which he's bum rushing, bogarting, and running over people and things like that. And then when it came down to the playoffs, we saw him slowly sit up there and deteriorate. And to sit up there and basically fire Sean McDermott, and then sit up there and elevate Joe Brady. I really thought that was a bad hiring, and I really do feel that we will see the Bills go down because Joe Brady is not the right coach for them. Number 7 is Mike McCarthy of the Steelers. This will be the first time that the Steelers fan base will now see what it's like to not have continuous success. Mike McCarthy, I think they only brought him in with the intentions of understanding that it will bring Aaron Rodgers back. The problem is that Aaron Rodgers' arm isn't as strong as it is. Now, I will say this. Mike McCarthy does come in and he gives quarterbacks the freedom, but he's not a quarterback developer himself. But he will give them a lot of freedom and a lot of leeway. That means that Steelers Nation, don't be surprised if Cooper Rush is your starting quarterback when the season rolls around, because I do see Cooper Rush coming into the Steelers. And because he knows Mike McCarthy's system already, Mike McCarthy might feel comfortable with him running his system more than anybody else. And I know that's going to terrorize Steelers fans. And this is what you get when you sit up there and buy what you buy. Because for years, Steelers fans had the benefit of success. You talking about oh my God, Mike Tomlin for years has sat up there and been like a staple for the Steelers. Has been a guy who's never had a losing season. You're going to start seeing this coaching carousel that a lot of other teams have, and you're not going to be happy, excited, or even find it fun. So, again, I would not be surprised if Mike McCarthy is probably the head coach for about maybe the next 2 to 3 years. But by then, guess what's going to happen? Anthony Weaver would have found a job by then. Kelvin, I think his name is Barnes, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Brian Flores would have probably already found a head coaching job by then. Todd Bowles would have probably been gone somewhere else. So you're talking about there's going to be a lot of guys that during the tenure of Mike McCarthy, that those guys that you would have actually looked at as future options, even guys like Jonathan Gannon and all those type of guys that you would have probably thought would be future leaders of your franchise, you're going to end up in a situation where Mike McCarthy's going to block that because they're going to probably keep him there for about 3 years before they fire him. And for the first time in a long time, Steelers fans will understand and feel what the coaching carousel is like when you sit up there and complain about a guy like Mike Tomlin who constantly has you in the playoffs, and you're going to deal with a guy like Mike McCarthy who's not going to keep you in the playoffs. So that's going to be that. Last but not least, and this is the one that I got to talk about because, and I'm going to spend some time on this one because I want to give a shout out to the Falcons fans who really did support me. Some of them ended up subscribing to my channel, which I really appreciate. And at the same time, the engagement I had with them. One particular fan in particular, Chris Smith, kept me and him had a nice little conversation back and forth on TikTok. And I want to shout him out because him and I had like a really reasonable conversation when it came down to it. But in that conversation, I told him, I said, hey, I felt that they should not have fired Raheem Morris. And he came back and he said, well, you know, this is Raheem Morris's second time with us. And because this is the second time with us, I understand getting rid of him. And I said, well, you know, the problem that I have with the Atlanta thing is that for some reason, top level coaches just don't go to Atlanta. I don't know why. I don't understand why. I can't figure out why. Top coaching candidates never go to the Falcons. Quality coaching candidates never go to the Falcons. I just don't get it. And I had sat up there, and in the conversation between Chris and myself, I sat up there and I said, hey, look, check this. I feel y'all should sit up there and find something new, something different. And I gave the example of Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. Like, go after him. I don't think that Arthur Smith is intelligent as an owner. I think he's probably one of the more stupider owners in the league. Because Arthur Smith, for years, since he's bought the team, has done things that have been extremely questionable, no matter when it comes to coaching or what goes on. Like, even when it comes to hiring certain people, for him to hire Matt Ryan as the president of football operations, I felt that showed his lack of intelligence. It really did. And even now, you're still talking about the fact that when he arrogantly stepped in the face of his general manager when he made the selection of Michael Penix Jr. And this is after Arthur Smith, because people can say what they want to say, but Arthur Smith was the one who signed Kirk Cousins. It was not the general manager. That was Arthur Smith's move, because why would a general manager agree to pay Kirk Cousins, of all people, $140 million after coming off of a major Achilles injury at his age? Made no sense. So in response to that, the Atlanta Falcons hire Kevin Stefanski. Now, everybody wants to tell you all the time about how Kevin Stefanski is a two-time coach of the year. But what they don't include in that is that the two times that he won were kind of bizarre situations. So the first time he wins it, it's the COVID year. He wins it because he was the only coach who kind of had his team still intact during the COVID season, because nobody was really going anywhere in Cleveland. So when it came down to it, he lucked up in the COVID season, because there were a lot of times that his team was running into teams that were completely decimated by COVID. How do I know that? Because guess what? The Commanders made the playoffs in the COVID season too at 7-9. And that there was strong consideration of Ron Rivera actually getting a vote for Coach of the Year, which I thought was crazy. But again, Kevin Stefanski, his first Coach of the Year that he won was, of course, the COVID season. So he got an unfair advantage in that one, because he was the only coach who basically went through almost the entirety of the season with his full team still intact. So then he goes, I think they went 8-9 the following year. Then they went 7-10 the year after that. And they saw a very weak fourth place schedule. And they had a very weak schedule. I think that was 2022 when he won it again. And it was the same thing. He won Coach of the Year, sat up there, won Coach of the Year, playing a very weak schedule, and ends up losing, I think, in the second round of the playoffs, because his team, he wasn't a great play caller. Falcons fans, the future of Michael Penix being in Atlanta is over. Yeah, now you guys, he's never, Kevin Stefanski has never developed a quarterback, ever. And it will probably stay the same way. Understand, you guys will have a last place schedule this year, but he might actually be successful year one. But once y'all start going up the mountain and y'all start getting better, he's never going to be any good. Another thing, they hired Ian Cunningham as the general manager from the Chicago Bears. Ian Cunningham is going to learn the same thing that Drew Berry learned, and a lot of other general managers learn when it comes down to it. Kevin Stefanski feels that the general manager position is just a figurehead position. He feels that he's the one that's in control. And I wouldn't be surprised that if in year 3 or year 2 of Kevin Stefanski, Ian Cunningham is no longer the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. Because Kevin Stefanski felt the same way when it came to Drew Berry. Andrew Berry, he did not respect him, which is why he was okay with feeling like he was in control of the draft process when he drafted Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders. And Kevin Stefanski is going to bring that same thing. And understand this, Kevin Stefanski, when it comes to him not getting his way, he's shown that he will show a level of unprofessionalism immediately. He showed it with the Cleveland Browns. And it's amazing to me that at how coaches who are failures get the opportunity to be hired other places, even though they've shown that they've only shown how to fail. He was not a winner in Cleveland for real. And like I said, the 2 times he won Coach of the Year was because one was the COVID year, and the other one he saw a last place schedule. And I think that year he actually had the easiest schedule of everybody. And I remember the argument being that he shouldn't win it because he saw a very easy schedule. So, but that is my take on the coaches, the coaching hirings from best to worst. Of course, the best one I think is Todd Monken to the Browns. The worst being Kevin Stefanski to the Falcons. Y'all tell me what y'all think. How do y'all feel about my take on these coaching hirings? Some of y'all who got the coaches that I said were the worst, how do y'all feel about it? I really do want to hear from y'all, and we can go back and forth. Again, I appreciate the Falcons fans who responded when I said something about Raheem Morris not being fired. I want to definitely hear from y'all because I really want to understand, how do y'all feel now in the sense of like bringing in Stefanski when y'all were on the uptick with Raheem Morris? Like, do y'all really feel that this is a better hire than if y'all had just kept Raheem Morris? Y'all tell me in the comments below. Other than that, this has been your man John Fortune, and it's been a Frustrated Fan Sports Show.